And I hope this to leave you at the end of this reading with something hopeful, but I feel so inspired by the students here. And one of the things we deeply talked about was how wild maybe we're going to have to get to try to counter or rethink or make some sort of paradigm shift from here to another place in combating climate change. But you can't be crazy all the time. And one of the things that in the essays I read today, I think you're gonna be like, oh my God, that woman is out of control. And that is okay to me because that's one of the modes I embrace. But I have to say that it's thanks to Margot that I have one leg in reality and non craziness. And so when you read Bending Genre, which you should read, you should say, thank you to somebody who can put that woman on a track and get her, to get some stuff done and organized in a rhetorically justified fashion. So, Margot, thank you for rhetorically justifying me and for giving me, seriously, without Margot, I do think that I would be 100% off the rails. But sometimes she's like, come on back, Nicole. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna find a regular publisher. It's gonna be cool. And I really want to thank, again, working with Bloomsbury on Bending Genre. They're an incredible publisher. And Ira Sukugarong is here from Kenyon College, and he just moved from University of Florida, South Florida, to Ohio. You guys should go and harass him. He's not that far away, and he only has like 2,000 other students to spend office hours with. But he came here for the reading, and I mentioned him. Thanks for his travels and for being here. But also, he's part of a new collection of essays that Sean Prentice and I are putting out, and Jessica Hendry Nelson is that right? My God, present. She also has an essay in this book, and it's called The Science of Story, the brain behind creative nonfiction. And it's another book that, again, is like trying to make an argument in some sort of rhetorically strong sense that suggests that there is a lot of neuroscience that exists behind how we write. And Ira and Jessica's essays are incredible, and that book's coming out in January. So I'm grateful for both of them to be here. And again, also, if you haven't read Margot's book, The Art of Fugue, you should read that right now because it is an incredible book. All right, and I want to thank Mike Crowley for being here and hosting me, and James Weaver for being here and hosting me, and the Beck Series for hosting me, and David Baker, who I've known for a long time, although we don't actually see face-to-face very often. He came to University of Utah a couple times. He's dear friends with my mentor, Catherine Coles, and Ann Townsend's here. And it's just, I feel welcomed home. So on that note, you don't need to hear that much of my reading now that I've talked for 47 minutes. But I want to read from Sustainability, which is the book that Dr. Weaver's class read and spent 4-5 days with, which is more generosity than I can imagine. And I want to read the sad essay because we talked a lot about sadness, but I also want to talk a little bit about wildness and talk about the way that I felt like today there were some, I felt almost epiphanies in what we were thinking about how we're going to combat climate change, or the ways that we're going to have to push it to 11, to quote Spinal Tap, to get some sort of political justice, to get some sort of way beyond the way we currently think. And this book has a lot of funny moments, but it also has a lot of dark moments. And one of the lenses through which I look at climate change is through the lens of relationships of difficulty, which I call my marriage. Don't tell my husband. But I mean, I think all relationships are difficult. And my husband and I have been married for 19 years now, and it gets more rewarding and more difficult as time goes by. But I also look at it through the lens of addiction and drug addiction in particular, and about how In a lot of ways, I feel we are addicted to our way of life. We're addicted to our habits of tossing things away. We're addicted to our cars, but also, addiction to anything is a distraction, right? What are we distracting ourselves from is my large question. But this essay in particular, about every fourth essay or so talks about suicide. And we were talking earlier, I was talking on Tuesday about suicides that had occurred here on campus last year, a year ago, and then, 8 months ago. And I feel that we're pretty shy about talking about suicide because we don't want to screw it up, right? We don't want to make it worse. And I feel that maybe our resistance to talking about our self-destructiveness and our bad habits and our hypocrisy is one way that prohibits us from making any real change because we're shy about it. We feel like crap. We don't want to be assholes. We don't want to be self-destructive. We don't want to be people who cannot get it together. But maybe if we all get together and say, hey, we're all people who can't get it together, maybe there's a little bit of hope there. We would join forces in our inability to get it together. So I want to read this essay called Inner Resources, which is relatively brief, but talks about suicide. So that is a trigger warning. But I don't believe in trigger warnings, so everybody has to stay and listen to me. Also, okay, I bought reading glasses at CVS. So I'm like, hi, I'm 100 years old. And then I look up and I'm like, oh, no, I'm young again. But as I look down at the page, I will be an old lady. And as I look up at you, I'll just be dizzy. Okay, so if you're following along, this is from Sustainability on page 202. Inner Resources. Ways to stave off suicide. Borrow somebody else's neural net. Write a love letter to somebody, maybe your dead boyfriend. Eat blueberries. Go outside. Even if it's winter and there's snow on the ground, you will think of green. Make yourself laugh by telling yourself it will all be okay. Try not to be so sarcastic. It's corrosive, this sarcasm. There are several ways to stave off apocalyptic global warming. Stop using so much fossil fuel. Unplug your computer from the wall socket. Take shorter showers. Ride your bike. Don't travel by airplane. Don't buy plastic. Don't use plastic bags. Don't buy blueberries from Argentina and plastic clamshells in November. But sometimes these things are impossible. The shortening of showers, the riding of bicycles, all these hills, the laughing, the finding of non-Argentinian blueberries even in June. The antidote to sarcasm is sincerity. Sincerity feels like such a layer of bullshit. What might be a layer of bullshit is the prospect of geoengineering, a backup plan to save the planet, or at least to save the atmosphere. Geoengineering is a deliberate, large-scale intervention in Earth's natural climate systems to counteract climate change. It's a last-ditch effort in case humans don't change their climate-altering behavior. Scientists have devised ways to artificially create more cloud cover by adding sulfur to the atmosphere to cool the air. There are drawbacks to this plan, but it is a potential, albeit last-ditch effort to prevent self-destruction. The oceans will still become acidic. The ozone layer might disappear entirely. But if the crops continue to burn and tsunamis continue to drown and humans can't stop themselves from their human-y ways, then perhaps something less human-y must be done. Something with big machines or big guns, big molecules. Americans like things big, and small changes to live sustainably are even smaller than they are. Smaller than the gut microbes they destroyed in their stomach by overdoing on antibiotics. Now they can't eat anything but rice, not even blueberries. One way to stop the greenhouse gases from turning the planet into an ever-hottening greenhouse is to whisk up the oceans to create more cloud cover. That sounds easy and simple enough, not too troubling unless you're a fish. The size of the machines would need to be alien movie size, like the ones in The Abyss, War of the Worlds, the new Superman, Man of Steel, a turbine or a generator, or a big fan that spins and spins the water and makes a ruckus. The molecules, not liking this busyness, separate. The O's say goodbye to the H's and flee to the sky. Here are humans, the O's say. Here's our gift to you, a big fat cloud between you and that thing you claim to love so much, that indomitable sun. We broke up, me and the H's, just for you, and still you curse the rain. Stop yourself from killing yourself. You stir things up a bit. Change your basic weather patterns. Find the ocean inside of you. This will require self-awareness, which, being suicidal, you think you have too much of, but actually you have too little. You need to get away from yourself. Stop bothering your poor mother. She's had it up to here with you. What you need is a new personality. You have to do something most uncharacteristic of you. Let's say you're a usually friendly person on the outside. Hi, how you doing? But on the inside, you're saying to yourself, my God, that is a stupid coat. Change it around. Make yourself alien. Go ahead and say aloud, my God, that is a stupid coat. And think to yourself, hi, how are you? You might make an enemy. You might even get punched in the nose, but you're at the beginning of changing your neural net. Even better, you might realize you've been being a jerk in your head all along. Maybe you'll shut up about people's coats. Maybe you'll stop being a jerk in your head and in your mouth. You might even find a way to start to like the rain. Once, when I lived in Portland, I claimed to love the rain, in the same way people who live in places that snows claim to love the snow. But lying to yourself is only a temporary means of survival. No one likes her feet wet. You tell yourself it's beautiful, but frostbite is a killer and green killed your grandmother. First you lose your footing, then you lose your actual foot. Then the infection spreads like depression, like carbon dioxide. You are not a tree. You cannot breathe in all those combined H's and O's, all this carbon, all this anti-air. You need regular oxygen to live. What is oxygen? It is rain coupled with blueberries. They grow a lot of berries in Oregon. Grapes are a kind of berry that you make into wine. Wine is a big industry. People like to drink, not usually to death, at least not on purpose, but the grape growers don't want the grapes to die either. But in Oregon, it is awfully wet. It is moist most of the time. Powdery mildew is the enemy. To prevent the moisture from growing fungus on the grapes, you apply sulfur. It's an easy machine, kind of like a potato gun or a portable humidifier. The sulfur prevents mildew from growing, protecting the planet of the grape, letting it survive until harvest and crush. It's so harmless. Wine with sulfur grapes can still be labeled organic. Still, the sulfur must interfere with the sun to some degree. Some wines taste like sulfur. Some people are allergic to sulfites. And sometimes sulfites stick grape fermentation, which means the wine remains grape juice and the world ends non-alcoholically. There are other ways, besides the spurring on of cloud making from the ocean, to man make a fix to this carbon problem, to this greenhouse effectively turning our planet into a desert zone. You can spread a layer of sulfur dioxide along the atmosphere like a layer of protective Vaseline. The sun does not like sulfur dioxide. It's a mirror to its vampiric self. The sunlight bounces off the sulfur, deflection, rejection. Take that, sunlight. Try not to hotten us up so much. Our planet is not a 2-liter bottle of squirt, Captain Trapped. We are a can of Zima. We are going to dance all this heat away. This geoengineering is good for the kind of humans with a lot of luck and a little forethought. To coat the atmosphere in sulfur dioxide, you, not you in particular, you in general, like you and your mother, you will send giant balloons that rise up like clouds, like balloons that rain down sulfur upon the atmosphere. Smear it on like a salve. The hope is the sulfur dioxide stays up in the sky instead of collapsing into the ocean, turning it to vinegar, that the ozone layer doesn't take offense and leave for a better Venus, that the sky turning whiter wouldn't make the swans disappear. Humans have always been an experiment. Bleach is their favorite color. Suicide is the greatest rejection. Dear life, you are too stupid. Please go away. When you kill yourself, it's the one big fuck you, everyone. The last one, but a good one. In suicide, chutzpah. I do not need you, you dirt, you air, you soft animal flesh. You want it all gone. Bleach kills everything. It takes technology to kill yourself. Death by self, unless you can manage to starve or not breathe, requires tools and apparatus. You need a knife, an electrical cord, a hose for the exhaust pipe, a bottle of pills, a gun, a razor, a train. The fact that it takes something human-made should be a sign that it's no good for you. Can you kill yourself with blueberries? No, you cannot. They grow by rain and by sun, a reasonable combination of both. Be like the blueberry. Breathe. They say that the art of deconstruction is to find the flaw and therefore the key to a piece of art. You are art, made, constructed, bleached and grown, twisted and loved. What is the most you thing about you? Your dirty looks, the way you quote Oscar Wilde, that you sleep with one hand down your pants, that you consistently see yourself in the eyes of others, that you see through the skin of others like Superman, you see all their flaws. Their flaws are your flaws. Stringy and elastic, you feel your own muscles stretch like a rubber band. Now we're on to something. Their sadness crushes your soul because you know it crushes theirs. You know how desperately they're trying to hold on. It makes you suffer. Their flimsy skin, the way they say, hey, that's cheating. When you place your Scrabble letters on the board, let go for a second and then change your mind and pull them back. It's fine, they say, but you've already seen their insides. You've decayed them like plutonium-135, half-life. The fingers on the Scrabble letters are the only things holding them together. You're made of carbon. You keep spewing yourself into the atmosphere. You remind them by letting go, by coming back, how fragile everything is. And now, by seeing them, you've reminded yourself you are blowing apart like hydrogen and oxygen, abandoning your letters, going back to them. You wanted a second chance. The word beloved was better than valuable. What will it take to turn you into a protective layer of Vaseline? Compassion. To save them, you have to save yourself. Maybe grow some local blueberries. Give them to your friends. Live. If you and your mother do not have any balloons, you can fire the sulfur into the atmosphere with heavy artillery shells. The suicidal aren't supposed to have guns, but this is an opportunity to save the world, to save yourself. The corn you grew this summer only made it knee-high. Then the sun came on too strong. There was no cloud cover. There was no rain. It was just you and this cracked planet looking desperate at the sky. Corn is good for so many things. Soda pop and bread, candy corns and potato chips, Aunt Jemima maple syrup, popsicles, Eggo waffles, and polenta. Without corn, you are lonely. No one, not even your mother, understands you. How do you stop this sad story and make the cornstalk grow? You find a bazooka, maybe a tank, a cannon might do. Pack a bullet with some sprinkling of gunpowder and a pinch of sulfur. Send your last hope into the sky. Shooting upward is dangerous, but not necessarily deadly. Spread the word. Be careful of the birds. With the atmosphere fully lathered in sulfur, what happens to the sunlight? Shame spiral. The solar flares turn inward. The sun, rebuffed and rejected now, looks like you when you were feeling your worst. What if the sun takes it to heart, undoes itself, goes supernova? It's hard to feel sad for a sun that 1 million of your Earths could fit inside of, but you are its people. It will miss you. The sun won't even turn red giant for 4.5 billion years. That's a long time to go on with all your good efforts returned. Maybe the sun will shrivel and die without the humans who once loved it. Balance is the most useful verb. If you can balance, you're already doing it. You don't need to say it. If you're telling someone to balance, then obviously they can't. Just balance the amount of sulfur with the amount of cloud. Just balance the amount of sun with the amount of artillery fire. Just balance the amount of carbon you release with the number of trees you plant. You always wanted palm trees in Cleveland. Just balance the good things with the bad. Just wait another day and balance will come. People are the worst at balance. That's why the oceans do it for us. On the top of the staircase is where you need the most balance, but you haven't the least. You could throw yourself off the balcony, off the deck, out the wind, down the stairs. The moment is unbalanced. Everyone can see your insides. You're a mess of wires and propulsion. If life were a teeter-totter, you'd be on the ground with the snakes. If life were a teeter-totter, you'd be stuck in the air with the clouds and the bombs. If you knew how to balance, you would have stopped driving your car long ago. Bicycles. The solution to suicide and to global warming. All you need is for it to stop raining. One very unlikely prediction of global warming is that it will lead to less sun, more clouds naturally. We won't need the sulfur. The carbon will heat up the air. Hot air will heat up the oceans. Hot oceans will make more clouds. More clouds will mean more rain. The sun will not be rebuffed. The sun believes in clouds. He's already been to Venus. We can live on the everywhere that is Portland, Oregon. The Portland, Oregon of our dreams, where everyone already rides bicycles, even in the rain. And everyone lives in balance with their oxygen and their hydrogens, mixed, shaken, not stirred, their corn and their mothers. The bicycling may be wet, but isn't too full of hills. All that even breathing, the in and the out, the oxygen balancing the carbon as you balance on your pedals and you balance, and you're just glad that you have a coat, even if it's ugly. And on those sunny days, there's no conflicted feelings about the sun. You are 100% certain. You don't need any sulfur protectant. The sweat on your face reflects the extra bit of sun, the layer of carbon trapped in here. You are your own Vaseline. It doesn't worry ozone, it doesn't worry shame. Do I love you or do I hate your coat? It doesn't matter. Take it off. The sun has arrived. Oh, sun, it's okay. It's been too long. Thanks for just a little of you. June in Oregon is for blueberries, and there are enough blueberries for everyone. Okay. Now, I'm going to read the tiniest. Thank you, my friends. I'm going to read the tiniest of letters. What is the tiniest letter? I mostly read, I think most recently, and therefore most practically, Max. I'm going to read Max because I miss Max. Max is my, wait, I remember the alphabet. It goes L, M. Wait, how does it go to L and then N? Oh, I just missed it. Okay, got it. I was like, I remember the alphabet. No, Max is too long. Let's pick Igloo. Igloo is very short. Thank you. Thank you all for listening to Sustainability, a Love Story. And this is a book I wrote with David Carlin, who I met in Flagstaff when we were planning for the Nonfiction Now conference that happened in Flagstaff. And then it went to Iceland, and then it went to Phoenix. And next year it's going to be in New Zealand. And all this flying is very bad. And both David and I were spending a lot of time talking about how bad we felt about flying. But there is something to be said for travel because it brings people together in ways that maybe without travel we wouldn't have. And it brings ideas. We were talking in Dr. Weaver's class about recycling and composting, and how in Portland they have this great system, right, where everybody comes along, or you have like 9 bins and you separate all of your recyclables, but they also have compost bins. And so you put all your food waste into this compost, this other bin that they come along and put in some gigantic pile out, I think, near Gresham. The people in Gresham aren't thrilled. I love Gresham, but it's outside of Portland. But that idea of, we could be doing even more kinds of recycling. In Flagstaff, we stopped recycling a lot of the plastics because the people are like, nobody's buying the plastic. So in some ways we're honest and not like just pretending to recycle things, and then they're getting thrown away. On the other hand, I feel like crap all the time because my Chobani yogurt cups go in the regular garbage. That's pretty horrible. Okay, so on that note, travel is good on occasion. Okay, I've changed my mind again. I'm going to read frog. Frogs are nice. We talked a little bit about coyotes too, and you guys have gigantic coyotes here. And, I wouldn't mind seeing a gigantic coyote while I'm visiting. Okay, this essay is called Frog, and it's from the Afternormal. Sorry, wait, one more minute. So anyway, we went to the Nonfiction Now conference, and then we decided to write a book, and we want to write about climate change, but we needed to narrow it down, so we went through the alphabet, A through Z. So each of us wrote a letter A, we wrote a letter B. David's A is atmosphere, my A is albatross, my F is frog, his F is flying. So if you're interested in climate change as it pertains to the alphabet, it's one book that you should get. All right. Frog. There are people who talk too long. There are people who are content with the typeface God as Microsoft gave them. Oh my God, those people. There are people who do not mind having hot soup on a hot day or cold soup on a cold one. I don't like super hot soup or super hot coffee. What do I really know about temperature? In Australia, I know they don't love ice like we do in the States, the way our freezers shoot cubes into our glasses, and that our chests, depending on whether we are expecting squares or rectangles, drips, plops, or cannons. I'm sitting here in my house in Flagstaff, Arizona, eating medium warm soup, drinking lukewarm coffee, sipping a 32-ounce mason jar full of ice and water. I am temperature indulgent. I wouldn't know the Fahrenheit outside without looking at my iPhone. In 2001, my sister Valerie had a baby. Before that, she had a frog. The frog came in a plastic box full of water and nutrients. Natural Aquatics frog aquariums can house up to 2 African dwarf frogs in a 3.8 by 4.1 by 5-inch plastic tank. You need to feed the frog 1 to 2 pellets per week. Change the water twice per year. This is the perfect product for those who don't want a pet but kill their plants. Plants turn brown and brittle when they die. Frogs just sink to the bottom of the tank, blend in with the good for frog bacteria producing gravel. Good for frogs, good for decomposing dead frogs. Valerie had been given the frog for her birthday. She kept the frog alive for years, longer than the packaging suggested. A frog needs a place to hide. He needs water that isn't full of his own pee. A frog needs temperature controls. His amphibious body requires the manipulations of a spaceship. In space, everything is cold. An HVAC system is the only way to survive a planet-defying box. In a plastic box on the countertop, everything is either too cold or too hot. Lukewarm is exhausting to the water-dependent temperature of a frog. It takes a lot of energy to make ice, even more to make the ice dispense at your will. My cup sits here on the kitchen table next to my computer. The furnace warms up, meaning it must be fewer than 69 degrees Fahrenheit outside. The ice is melting. That's okay. I like cold water, but not so much the clinking of ice against my teeth. It's almost Christmas. I should call to check on my nephew, see how warm it is in Boise where he lives. Without checking in, the degrees, it seems, click up without our notice. The frog did eventually die. The water that housed him warmed slightly day by day. In the end, he didn't even notice how hot it had become. Thank you very much.